You guys see what's in here? There's a lot of glitter, right? I keep glitter because I believe in magic, and since I was a little girl, I believed that glitter had magic in it. And if Tinkerbell ever showed up, I wanted to make sure she had a refill nearby if she needed it, okay? Like, I've always had just a little bit of nonsense like this in my life. But what we're talking about here is not this kind of nonsense, even if it's delightful nonsense. Happy Tuesday. Welcome back. These recent Tuesdays have kind of felt almost spiritual, religious, preachy to me somehow, and it's kind of funny. I understand and it makes sense to me, and then also at the same time, it's sort of funny because it was really not at all what my intention was when I came out to talk about a lot of this stuff. So it's sort of humorous to me how it's showing up when I decide I want to talk about things. Because I make my own plans, and then like the thing that I want to talk about sort of appears, and then I start talking to you guys about it. So there's like the intentions that I set, and then like the chart that I have, and I'm like, I'll do these things, and this is what my plan is, and this is what the strategy is, and then it's just like, yeah, and then like real life and intuition and I don't know, energy, guides, angels, whatever happens, and then the next thing I know, I'm like, okay, I'm talking about this now, and I just don't even always understand why. So it's kind of this is sort of a funny experience. I don't know how y'all are doing with it, but it's definitely very new to me, and I'm delighted by it. But it's a little random. So if you feel like you're on a ride, I get it. I'm sure I'll find my rhythm here soon. But part of the reason that made me think of it is because I was talking about faith a few weeks ago, and then love a little bit more after that, and then you guys know how I'm easily not easily programmed. I'm patternable. I'm programmable, and I have real experience with noting and experiencing patterns. And realizing how susceptible I am to them, and then realizing my power in writing them. And so in all of this, I'm like, okay, so what are you talking about, Jackie? What are you saying, Jackie? Okay, I'm saying that and when I look at my chart and I see it like my spreadsheet here, that's like, this is what your agenda is. I see faith and love, and then like the Christian programming in the back of my mind is like, charity, do charity next. Right. Okay, so I put charity on there because my brain is just like, I mean, it's important, right? We're gonna talk about it and think, okay, you know what? I get that. That actually, especially when you're talking about religious connotations on charity versus actual connotations. But then I keep thinking about it, and I'm like, why wasn't hope part of that? That feels like that should have been like a four horsemen of the resistance, or the enlightenment, or the four horsemen of heaven are like faith, love, hope, and charity. And I don't know why hope had to come to us through the Greeks in Pandora's box, but I have this idea that all of it's somehow linked to patriarchy. So rather than holding patriarchy to task for that, I just think we should talk about hope. All right, so my family is really well read, and nobody in my family is going to like me saying this out loud, but I did not know a lot about Greek mythology until I was into college, and really when I started hanging out with and learning from my husband, who is like fascinated by Greek mythology. But I did not know a lot about Greek myths because I was really steeped in Christian myths. Ask me about a saint, and I will tell you who they are and what they're for. And if you need one, I know who they are and what they're for. And if you don't know who it is and what it's for, I know the miscellaneous saints, okay? I know a lot, all right? I know prayers in Latin to things that Older generations don't know because I went to church so much with my grandmother and we did so much in Latin. It's just like I know I know old things about the Catholic Church, but there is a lot about Greek mythology I did not know. And so I really had a very surface level understanding of most Greek mythology. And and it got to the point where it got embarrassing. I had to educate myself on it because I was like, "Ooh, it's a thing. I need to know this." It turns out they're really closely related to archetypes, and they're important. And it's helpful in being able to communicate with other people about things. So I get it. I get it now. But for a long time, I didn't understand why myths mattered so much. But it's part of how we have found as humans to kind of communicate with each other, right? So I hadn't learned that much about Greek mythology, and I didn't, but um, I, lo- I love the idea of a paradox. I'm always intrigued by things, like I said, you like the duality and patterns, and then the idea of a paradox, like you need this for that. I mean, it's sort of I showed you guys my Florence Scovel Shin book recently, and inside it I found, a thing that's like me, and it says up here, them. And it's just like this idea that we're all connected, but we're separated, through this eternity sign. And it's like, this is me and this is them. This is me, this is you. We're all together, we're all the same, and then we're all separate. And it all comes back down to, how do you love people, love the experience, and not come out of this whole thing just, honest to God, just pissed off at everybody because what the happened to you? Because you're a human. I mean, my questions were not necessarily spiritual when I began. My questions were very fundamental. It was, how do I stop being so fucking angry all the time? That was what my question was. So I love the idea of something that was a paradox because it gave me something to think about other than my rage. And I was able to kind of look into it. And so I love the idea of Pandora's box. When I discovered that when the box is opened and all of these horrors of humanity are unleashed upon the world because the box has been opened. This is the short version. Hold on. I'll get to hold on. At the bottom of the box, the only thing that doesn't escape is hope. All right. The first time I found out that hope was the only thing that didn't escape at the bottom of the box, y'all, this is how, like, I was watching Charmed, like the original Charmed with Shannon Doherty and Alyssa Milano and Piper. Sorry, Piper. But Alyssa Milano ends up, sort of summarizing in one of those things, the paradox that is Pandora's box, that everything is unleashed and the bottom of it is hope. And I was like, what? Hope was the bottom? Nobody told me hope was at the bottom of the box. Y'all, did you know that hope was at the bottom of the box? I didn't know that for a really long time. And the person that told me was Alyssa Milano through Charmed. So, if you want to know, I've got weird affection for that. It's some of it is Shannon Doherty, and some of it is because they dropped weird knowledge on me that got me curious and investigating things. Well, kind of curious and kind of investigating because I really didn't actually look really that far into it after that until today. I mean, I thought about it and I was like, I should do that at some point, and oh yeah, no, I will actually sit down and read myths or something. I've got to go find the right source, and I do a lot of reading, a lot of things. So like, it's like on the list. Okay, fine. So I haven't actually read it, and I was thinking about it recently, and I'm like, hope keeps coming into my mind as I'm thinking about things and planning stuff right now, and I'm, feeling what is needed out in the world, and I feel like hope is the thing that everybody needs, and they're just like, oh my God, Pandora's box has been unleashed, and where the fuck is hope? All right, so in honor of Pandora's box and what has been unleashed in it, my hair is like, unleash me. It's like, okay, I'm not fighting you. It's cool. It's cool. You can do whatever you want to. So no, I didn't change the hair color. I just put it up. All right, but I'm looking at the Pandora's box myth, right? And I'm trying to figure out, you know, if there's more to it, what else I haven't learned, because, as much as I love Charmed, I'm not necessarily sure they give me the full in-depth analysis. So here I am, I'm out here checking things out, and fascinated to find out that Pandora was actually the first. I don't know that we don't actually say human woman. She's the first woman who is created by the gods as a punishment to mankind. So she's this creature in Greek mythology who is created as a punishment. But she comes kind of wrapped in her own paradox, right? Because she's a punishment for mankind, but then who creates them and what do they do? All of the gods get together and they give her all of their gifts, which she can use very much for, good or evil. Her cleverness from Athena, or Aphrodite gives her beauty and Apollo gives her music. And so she's like created to be the perfect woman. And then as this goes through, they mold her in the ideal way, and give her wisdom and love and a cunning, deceitful mind and seductive voice from Hermes. And so each god adds their blessing or their curse to Pandora. That's the first thing I didn't realize about her. So here she is coming in, and she is already, before we even introduce the jar, a very complex paradox, right? Of blessings that's being delivered as a curse. That's interesting. I didn't quite realize that. And so they're like, why would you do this? And that's kind of what the question for this is. And it's sort of like, is this an exploration of curiosity? Because the idea is that Zeus eventually gives her a jar, which is misinterpreted in some point in history, and we understand it to be a box, but originally was a jar that was given to her by Zeus, and said, don't open this jar. But I don't know if he told her why. I think that matters sometimes. I think sometimes if you really want people to understand the importance of things, you have to kind of explain to them, hey, you shouldn't open this because, all hellfire and damnation will be unleashed upon the world. And then maybe she wouldn't be like, hey, I wonder what that looks like. Maybe she was actually like, hey, what's in the box? What's in the jar? Which is a different question from, can I see hellfire and damnation up close? Right? So as much as she's taken a lot of heat in all these stories for what has happened, I do wonder exactly how this shook down when she was handed this gift and said, here you go, honey, hold this and keep it safe, and whatever you do, don't look inside. So the theory is that she's curious about what's inside the jar. She opens the jar, and what she looks inside, and all of these miseries come out. Misery, sickness, death. And interestingly, the interpretations of what comes out of the jar depends on the era of the translation and who made it, which I think is also sort of fascinating paradox about the story, right? So she opens it up and she unleashes everything onto the world, and all of it escapes except hope. And then they say, hope stays trapped in the jar, because the question gets asked, is hope a blessing or a curse? Oh, have I asked this question before? Like all the time. So it leads you into like this existential question of, if you were to have let hope out of the box, would it just be one more thing that tormented us? Or is it remaining in the box because it's something that we can always keep close to us that helps sustain us? Or is it both? And then what else is maybe that true for, I think would probably be my next question. But I haven't gone there yet. And I'm going to stay on hope. Because I really think the hope thing is important. Because I do think hope has a double-edged sword that a lot of people don't understand, especially people who do not hold a lot of hope themselves. And so I want to tell you a little bit about what it's like to hold a lot of hope, even right now in the world that we're experiencing everything in, because it's not always optimistic, it's just hope. In light of the spirituality aspects of things, I do just want to mention how very, very similarly this echoes what we hear as the story of Eve in the Christian church, and how much this is like, don't eat the apple, don't eat the apple, don't eat the apple. Oh crap, she ate the apple. And it was just sort of like, who was really wrong here? Was it putting us next to the apple saying we couldn't eat it, or making the fact that we ate it a bad thing? I'm not sure exactly where I feel. So I'm not trying to get into that, but I do notice the lack of originality in the writings when it came to Adam and Eve, and the fact that Greek mythology had covered this already in some capacity with Pandora's box. So I think that's very interesting, how patriarchal society has influenced all of these myths and legends and belief systems that are structuring all of us. So I only mention it because I think we should be cognizant if we're going through, but that's not necessarily the focus that I have right now. So to counterbalance just the idea that the patriarchal elements kind of stifled, is the idea that a lot of feminist scholars have looked at this story and said a lot of this is reflecting the fear and suppression of female agency in patriarchal societies. I'm looking at GreekMythology.com, and it just is really sort of interesting to hear, because it's totally true. It's right. It's like women unleashed all the horrors on the world, and then even hope is the horror, and it's just sort of it's very much like how the feminine is a burden to the masculine, right? What have we done to become part of that burden? And so I think part of that is unpacking even the concept of that somehow the box that was created even by Zeus and manufactured by Zeus and bestowed upon, and then kind of brought about by this really highly masculine energy. And then it's like, oh, look at what you did with the thing that we created. And she was like, wait, I opened the thing. You guys had this great idea to put all this stuff in here. Like, now I'm the bad guy because I opened it. Like, maybe you shouldn't have put it in there. Maybe you should have sealed it. Like, wait, how is this all linked? I don't know. It smacks of a lack of accountability of everybody's part in things. So what really do we learn when we find out that hope is the thing that's left at the bottom of the box that Pandora has? What is it that we're going to walk away from this with? And it's telling us a couple of different lessons. It's talking about curiosity, right? And why we've got caution about it, because there are things that you can't unsee once you see them, and you've got to be careful. So if you're going to open the jar, be prepared, because if you open that jar and something comes out, it may make you feel things. Right? All right. So beware of your curiosity when it comes to opening the jar, because maybe it's hope, and maybe it's all of the fears in the world. I don't know. I tend to go toward the curiosity here. This was all curiosity exploration for me. So this is a funny lesson for me personally. But then there's also this other element, but it's true. It actually is very, very true too, because there's I've told you I've had these experiences in the last few years where I've discovered certain truths about my life and the people that I know and things that I know. And even though I didn't like the truths or I didn't enjoy the truths, they still actually really they gave me a gift in that they grounded me because I really knew what they were, and I was able to sort of process it. It was like, oh my gosh, I can see what it is, and I know what it is, and even if it's ugly and it hurts, I can finally define it. And in doing that, I'm able to contain it. And I think that's a big part of kind of what this experience is like, how do you define things? Because that will help you figure out how you can contain them. And you can't see it after you've seen it. You can't unsee it. So you've got to be careful if you're going to look in the jar. And then also you've got to be careful if you're the one in charge of the jar, bestowing it on someone else, receiving it, when you realize that there's a lot of power. So with great power comes great responsibility, right? We know this. And so if this is what we're dealing with everything, then it's really a lot more complicated, this Pandora's box. I love something that just keeps giving in like this meta kind of way. Like it's just like a Pandora's box of you know what I mean? Like, and then it's like a paradox on a Pandora's box, and something about the words all having an X in it really and P's. It just, and all of it's making me very happy. But it's really funny, the paradox of Pandora's box. And the fact that there is really, like, it's the paradox of life. What are you going to choose to see? Are you going to choose to see all that flew out? The chaos? Are you going to choose to only see that? Are you going to choose to ignore the beauty of the box? The beauty of Pandora? Are you going to choose to ignore the hope that remains inside? Or are you going to leave it closed and never unleash it and let that be your gift? Like, what are the different things that we can learn? There's so many different ways that we can learn from it, and I love that. And I love that complicated relationship with hope, because it is. It's a complicated relationship with hope.